AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
You soup.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world.
And Mr. Toby Tumpley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Nick Underhill in about 15 minutes. Kendall Rogers, bottom of this hour. Chris Hummer talking portal next hour. Ryan Clark's here in hour 3. Ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
So something that actually happens pretty commonly that you may not be aware of is when you go to an event like Super Bowl, Radio Row, or SEC Media Days, or the SEC Spring Meetings, or the NFL Owners Meetings, anything like that, where there's this sort of just avalanche of content, sometimes you will which is an industry phrase for record, content, and then you'll hold on to it to release it at a later date whenever things are maybe a little slower, where the news cycle isn't as robust. So when you're at Super Bowl Radio Row or Super Bowl week, I mean, just think about it. There's thousands of credentialed media from outlets all over the world, not just sports media, but news and entertainment. And there's celebrities and sports people alike from all different leagues. And so there's just this free flow, this just funnel, just flowing of information and news and interviews and everything. So you could have something great that gets buried under that avalanche. So it's not uncommon to see outlets sit on something that's not super urgent and pressing and then release it at a later time. Well, that's what TMZ did. So Todd Graves, of course, we all know Todd is the founder, owner of Raising Cane's. We sit here in the Raising Cane's studio. We have a great relationship with them, and my interactions with Todd over the years have been awesome. I think he's a phenomenal human. On top of a brilliant business guy and a really hard worker and very philanthropic and all the things that you would assume him to be. Well, a TMZ reporter caught up with Todd Graves at the New Heights party. So it was Jason and Travis Kelce was there. Probably everybody has party Super Bowl week. And so Todd Graves was there with a whole bunch of other celebrities, and TMZ caught up with him. And and they just now have released bits of this conversation, and part of what they released was them talking to him about the possibility of being a sports fan and owning a franchise one day.
For me, I love football. I love the fanfare of it. I love the fact that coaches and teams have to put together just amazing play calling, amazing teams. The athletes are incredible. So I love all that. It's all about success and working hard and doing great and giving it all to the fans. So maybe someday that makes sense for me, right? You know, so maybe someday down the line it might.
Okay, so not ruling out the possibility of owning a team. The TMZ reporter there also brought up Todd's relationship with Gayle Benson, sort of alluding to Saints and Pels ownership, and he was very gracious toward Gayle Benson.
Gayle's amazing. Yeah, someday if Gayle were to ever be like, hey, Gayle's she's gonna live forever. She's just such a great shape and it's just a really, really sharp lady. I really respect her. We're good friends. I really respect her. I learned from her. She's an incredible businesswoman. And even or she's just great in the community. She gives everything back. But, maybe someday if she's like, hey, that's Reigns, who knows?
You might have it in.
Might have it in, you never know.
So I think it's notable because there's Todd Graves on the record acknowledging that someday he may be interested in owning either or both of the professional sports franchises in the state. Now, Todd's assumed net worth right now, according to Forbes, is $22 billion. Now, you can be a billionaire on paper. It doesn't mean you have $22 billion liquid, but certainly you could borrow against those assets, and all that to say he's more than wealthy enough to be able to do that, to afford both franchises if, in fact, he wanted to buy them both. A couple of things that I'd like to discuss here, and not necessarily that this is urgent or pressing because the teams aren't for sale, and Gayle Benson is very much alive and has said on the record that she has no intention of ever selling. We know that both Mickey Loomis and Dennis Lauscha are the executors of her will. And when she dies, it is going to be their task to sell the franchises and then distribute those monies to charities. So I don't know that Gayle Benson that the teams are going to be for sale anytime soon. And Mrs. Benson is 79 years old right now. And you heard Todd say there that she's in great shape and healthy. And no one's pushing her into the grave. I'm not suggesting as much. I'm just talking about a hypothetical that the wealthiest person in this state has now talked about on the record. A couple things. Number one, I think Gayle Benson mostly is a very good owner. And the most important thing Gayle Benson has done as the owner of the Saints and the Pelicans is keep the franchises in New Orleans, in the state. When Tom Benson died, she could have sold them it would have been certainly within her right to sell them to anyone, and they could have moved the franchises. That certainly could have happened, but she is from New Orleans, and she wants to keep those organizations here in the state. And for that, if she does nothing else with them, that alone is a massive win for the state, courtesy of Mrs. Benson. So that's one, and that should never be overlooked, is her love for the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, and wanting to keep these organizations in the state. For me, I always look at owners, and I say there are two things an owner should do. Number one, be willing to spend money. And number two, get out of the way. Jerry Jones is sort of the premier example of this. He will absolutely spend money. He will not get out of the way, to the Dallas Cowboys' detriment over the last 3 decades. I think you see that more often than not in professional sports. Sometimes you have organizations that just are not willing to spend money. The Cincinnati Bengals are a great example of that. They are just a cheap ownership group. Mrs. Benson and Tom Benson before her, always willing to spend money. The whole cap gymnastics thing that the Saints did for years, that only works if you convert salary into signing bonuses to spread cap hits into future years. Well, you can only do that if you're willing to pay those signing bonuses up front. So you have to have an owner willing to part with liquidity immediately to be able to do that. She has done that, and Tom Benson before her did that. So they are an ownership group that has spent money and largely gotten out of the way. So check. The Saints and Pelicans have been hamstrung, however, by Mrs. Benson's loyalty to Mickey Loomis. And we know what this is rooted in. When Rita Benson and Gayle Benson were feuding, lines were drawn internally in that organization, and those that sided with Gayle Benson, like Mickey Loomis and Dennis Lauscha, were made men, almost like in a mafia family. And if you're a made man, you're set. And so no matter how bad it ever gets, Gayle Benson is never firing Mickey Loomis or Dennis Lauscha, ever. Much to the detriment of this organization. That's why you can go through a half decade without making the playoffs, totally consequence-free. Where you can have the worst cap situation, bad drafts, all of it, fired coaches, and the GM keeps his job because the owner is pot committed to him because of his siding with her whenever the power struggle was happening. And that's been to the detriment of the organization, quite honestly. I think Gayle Benson, otherwise very good, but that is a giant asterisk next to her resume. Now, if Todd Graves ever were to become the owner, I think this would be an incredible positive for several reasons. Mostly, it falls in line with the one thing I said about Gayle Benson first, which is Gayle Benson's the best thing she has done is kept the Saints and Pelicans in Louisiana, and Todd Graves, who still has residence obviously here in Baton Rouge, despite his international business holdings and the fact that he's got homes other places, he still has residence in Baton Rouge and is here a lot. Todd would keep the teams in Louisiana. That's most important. Number two, I also think it's very important that if you are running these professional sports organizations like a business, he has built a billion-dollar business from zero. Gayle Benson has not. Now, I think she has been brilliant in the way she's helped market both Tom Benson and the organizations, but she did not build wealth. She married a man who owned these franchises and inherited the franchises when he died. And I think when you look at Saints ownership from John Meekum initially, who was an oil man, Tom Benson, who's in the auto industry, if you were to go from John Meekum to Tom Benson to Gayle Benson to Todd Graves, the difference is, and this is the third part, Todd Graves is famous. He's not just a wealthy, brilliant businessman. He is also famous. He has famous friends. He hangs out with Snoop Dogg and Leonardo DiCaprio and Nelly and Jamie Foxx and Joe Burrow. Like, he is a famous individual. He's been on Shark Tank. And I think that would bring a ton of notoriety to the organizations as well. Almost like when you think about, famous, like just think about the celebrities on the sidelines at in LA at Raiders games back when they were the LA Raiders, or the USC with the celebrities on the sidelines. Sometimes there's notoriety that goes along with that can be beneficial. So there's so many reasons why just logically it would make so much sense if Todd Graves buys these franchises in time. It is worth noting that according to Forbes valuations, the Saints presently are valued at $5.6 billion. The Pelicans presently are valued at $3.85 billion. So you're talking about right around somewhere between $9 and $10 billion. His net worth is estimated at $22 billion. So even if he were to liquidate half of his assets, he could buy both of the organizations with cash today. Now, how do they continue to appraise? What does his wealth continue to increase to be? I don't know what that'll be in time. But if there is an eventuality where Mrs. Benson either passes and the franchises come for sale, or she sells them before she passes, this makes too much sense that Todd Graves be that person. I sincerely hope it does go that way, if and when that day ever does come. All right, it's after further review. Our show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, official beer of the New Orleans Saints, official beer of the LSU Tigers as well. Baseball Tigers are on the road this weekend in Jacksonville. They'll play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're at the home of the Jumbo Shrimp in Jacksonville. So if you're not going to be in Jacksonville, great. Watch the games at your house or at your favorite bar or restaurant, wherever you're watching. Make sure you got plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light, and even better than just drinking Bud Light, which is awesome in and of itself. Drink Bud Light in the officially licensed National Championship commemorative bottles from Bud Light. The 16-ounce aluminum bottles with the National Championship logo, available at great retailers all over the place. So make sure you grab yours and drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. All right, quick break, y'all. Let me knock out a break. We'll come back. I want Nick Underhill to jump aboard with us here, of course, NewOrleans.football. And Nick did a really cool thing. He launched a new app that I think is going to be a great tool for Saints fans, and I want to talk about it next. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon. Get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done. Of course, one of the things that you'll get at the website always, there's a lot of things you get at the website. You can read testimonials. So actual client testimonials. Real people from Louisiana, just like you and me, who live here, who were injured in an accident, all different types of accidents. Auto wrecks, big truck wrecks, slip and fall, workers' comp, all different types of accidents. And their experience working with Gordon and his team. Now, the other thing that's really important to know as well is that it doesn't matter where you are in the state of Louisiana. Gordon has offices all over the state. So if you've been injured, you don't want to travel, there's a Gordon McKernan Injury Attorney's office near you. Gordon and his team will go to work for you immediately to get you what you deserve. So go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Get Gordon. Get it done.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
I was on Twitter a bit ago and saw a tweet from Nick Underhill where he launched an app. The tweet was, "Let's see how this goes. I built a cap calculator from the ground up. First app I've ever built, so let me know how it works." I think it's a really cool concept. All right, Nick's good enough to join us here for a couple minutes. Hey, man, how are you?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. So did you just ask AI to build you an app and you did it in like 3 seconds?
Oh, no, man, that thing was a battle, trying to get all the math in there, and you got to define all the logic. Thankfully, my best friend is an engineer, so, he kind of helped me through a lot of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, we do live in a world now where if you want to figure out how to do anything, you can get pretty good instructions. And if you're willing to, battle through it and fight through logic and try to figure stuff out, it's kind of there. I don't think I'm really good at anything in life, but I'm really good at, being determined and sitting through a growing process. And that's kind of, how I have a career. I was never the smartest guy, the most talented guy, but I'll sit there, man, and just sweat something out. And yeah, we got there. I was kind of surprised at the reaction for that. I thought there were going to be a handful of deeply nerdy people that would be pretty excited about being able to pretend being Kai Harley and be able to run the math. It kind of took off a little bit, so it's been cool to see.
You so New Orleans.football. By the way, is this? I saw the link. I clicked on the link from Twitter, and it brought me to a landing page here. But is there an app in the App Store that someone can go download if they want to get it right now?
No, it's on our website. We have an app on the App Store, New Orleans.football, and it's part of that suite of things. It's on there, front page, bottom menu bar. There's a little calculator there. You can just touch it, and it'll bring you up to it. And yeah, you can go through it. There's a free agent tab. You can go on the free agents, try to add them, see how they'll fit on the cap. It populates contracts to the top 150 free agents in the league, and everything on there is CBA compliant. I sent it to some cap people in the league to go through it and try to find some bugs. We had to work out a thing between accredited seasons and accrued seasons for league minimums. We are into the deep details here. So if it doesn't work on there, it's probably not going to be able to work in real life.
Yeah. How do you? So you've covered the NFL for 20 years now. How long have you been covering the NFL?
First season was 2010.
Okay, so a decade and a half there, give or take. So how much have you noticed in your time covering the NFL? Has there been an increase in fan interest in things like that? Because I'm your guy. I nerd out on stuff like this. I like watching the cap and the numbers and, the roster spots, 51, 52, 53. I nerd out on that. How much have you noticed an increase in that level of interest in your time covering the NFL?
Yeah, I think it definitely went up. That's a great question because the first probably 8 years or so of it, you didn't really need to know too much about it. There was, the general belief was that, Tom Brady restructured his contract. He helped out the team. And it's no, Tom Brady just got a $30 million cash bonus.
Right.
And now all his money's guaranteed. He hasn't done anything to help out the team. He just got a payout and he got the same exact money. But I don't think people even understood those concepts for the first few years that I covered the NFL. And I would say probably maybe over the last 7-8 years, it's kind of really become a thing. Over the cap was kind of a little niche site, and then in that time, the book crunching numbers came out. That was kind of a thing that I think started to open people's eyes. I covered the league. And yeah, I think it just kind of became this little cottage industry. For me, I started out covering, the Patriots, and yeah, it wasn't a big thing. There was this guy, Mike Reese, that would kind of dive into the cap numbers a little bit, but it wasn't a huge thing. But, also covering the Saints, I think around here, there's probably increased interest on it. And it's just the way that they've operated. I mean, you literally have to read that CBA and you have to find rules and you got to find cap sources and you got to find people that are in it's a legitimate living, breathing thing here that you have to cover with the same level of detail as a player, maybe even more because it determines everything and it's been so complicated. And actually being able to explain what's going on and why it's happening and what they're doing and what's possible and what's not possible has been, hugely important because every year, they're at the end of the cap rainbow now, they're about to be free and clear. But, for a lot of times there's a lot of fear mongering with it. Oh, they're going to have to cut Cam Jordan and Alvin Kamara and all these people. And you needed to understand why that wasn't true and why it wasn't happening. And, I think that's been an important thing. Like, you don't want to be the weather person on TV screaming that there's a hurricane coming. Well, there's somebody on the other channel saying there's no hurricane, and then the hurricane never comes. Like, so knowing it, I think that's been, something you've had to know to be able to build trust, and people see that over time. I mean, I think that's a huge, huge thing here, especially with the Saints. So, yeah, league-wide, I think it's become a major, major thing, and people follow it, and just the level of detail in the NFL, I would say, even over the last 15 years, like coverage in general, I think is just a lot more detailed. And I think it was a lot of generalist takes, and I think the world's just become very specific. Pretty much like probably every topic, but definitely the deep details of the NFL are more important now than ever.
Yeah. And Nick, you brought up a good point there, or I thought it was an interesting point, because the NFL, like, we tend to be very deep on the team, on the thing we know, right, which would be the Saints. And the Saints have been sort of an outlier, which seems like an outlier in the NFL because of the cap gymnastics they do every year. Where do the Saints reside within the scope of the 32 teams in the NFL for how they handle the cap? Another way to ask it, Nick, is do you think other fan bases would be as interested in something like this, like Saints fans would be, because of the fact that we've all had to learn all this cap gymnastics stuff so much to keep up with it over the last 10 years?
I think Saints fans are smarter. Like they just on cap stuff. Like they have to be. They have to be though, because it's just something. It's some part of survival. Like they want to go on Twitter and have the battles, and you got to have the information to have the battles. And I think they just know how to use a tool like this. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interest on it. But like Philadelphia's kind of existing in the same place now, and they're starting to come up into that scary thing with what happens when you have a good team and you got to pay everybody, and how do you fit all these contracts and that? So I think there's a handful of teams where there's probably a little bit more knowledge because they have to have that knowledge. And if it isn't there yet and they don't know it, their team probably hasn't been good enough to be in cap trouble, and they haven't had to figure it out on that level. So I would say, yes, there's certain places there is, but other places, no, probably not. Like if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you probably haven't had to study a whole lot to see how they keep a guy or how they fit a guy. So maybe that level of information isn't there. And something like what we've built with this cap calculator, where you gotta set out the years and how you want to backload it. Do you want to do an option bonus instead of a signing bonus? How does that affect the cap? Like, you probably don't want to do that. You probably just want to punch in a average per year, have it lay out evenly, and do the old Andrew Brandt Packers style of cap management, where if it's a $40 million contract, it costs $10 million a year, and you just move on. But I mean, if you've been in cap hell, or you're heading towards cap hell, or you're trying to stay competitive and not let hell become the definition, and it's just competitive and aggressiveness, I think you gotta know this stuff. You got to know how it works, so you know how your team can be built and what needs to happen, and the benefits of keeping and cutting guys and all that stuff. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm on a long ramble on it, but yeah, I think there's a handful of places where that cap knowledge is going to be a little bit more detailed.
He's Nick Underhill, Nick_Underhill, NewOrleans.football. Go check out the app, the cap calculator. By the way, I just signed Kenneth Gainwell on your site. So it's fantastic, and it barely affected the cap whatsoever. Hey, last thing before you go. I love how you just said the Saints are sort of at the end of the rainbow, which is a great way to put it, of the cap hell. So I could tell right here, Paul, you can pull this up if you want on the screen. So you can see right there at the top. So going into this year, the Saints are $6.39 million over the cap. So very little to do, actually, this year to get within cap compliance. Nick, any best guess at what New Orleans does to get within cap compliance here?
Yeah, so a couple things to note there, though. So the accelerations on the guys with voting contracts won't hit that number until March 11th. So it's holding right there now. So you can get ahead of it if you sign Cam Jordan to a one-year extension, have some void years on it, whatever you want to do. You can stop that acceleration from hitting. Same thing with DeMario Davis and Foster Moreau. I doubt Taysom Hill. I think Taysom Hill's probably out of here. So that number's going to hit. But there's also going to be a cap credit for Derek Carr that I believe they're going to get awarded. That's probably going to be around $5.4 million. So that'll be a credit to their cap there. They have a $10 million rollover that's accounted for on that total. In the rookie class, too, will cost a little bit of money, but they replace guys on the top 51. So it's not a bad situation at all. But that six number could go a little bit up depending on what happens. Now, on a couple of things that could affect it, if you're asking me to project it today, and I say this, the combine is next week. So there's January rumors out in the world, February hits, that combine hits. Our information, what's true today, may not be true on Tuesday. But if you're asking me, my best guess today, Cam Jordan stays, Demario Davis goes, Taysom goes. And I think if Foster Moreau, if he's healthy, I don't think he costs anything. There's probably a decent chance he comes back. So for those guys, I think that's how that plays out. So the cap situation with their acceleration shouldn't be too bad, but there's a lot of flexibility there. Anyhow, I would say Chris Olave extension, probably at a very healthy number, probably a little bit higher than maybe you would expect, 33.5, something like that, maybe per year. I would guess somewhere around there. You can structure that in a way so that's actually cap friendly up front. But I mean, man, they can clear like $60 million in space, like in a matter of minutes. So, like, there's nothing that's going to constrain them. There's a dead money number this year that's quite large. It doesn't actually matter because there's room next year. And the thing to look at it too is, I think you're going to probably see some like aggressive moves a little bit with some of the stuff they do. But the way you can structure Tyler Shuck's contract, if he is worthy of a new deal, and I think he will end up being the guy, like, I think there's ample evidence there that he's probably pretty good, and they'll probably sign him to an extension. That means you got a 5-year window really from today until a real number hits on his contract, because they'll structure it in a way to where the real money doesn't hit until like 5 calendar years from today. So you can go out and you can, if you want to call it an overpay on Chris Olave just to keep him to make sure he never hits the market, you can overpay him because you aren't paying the quarterback. You got 5 years right now where you want to build a structure that's going to help elevate your young quarterback, and you take advantage of it. And then hopefully where you're at on the flip side of that, when you're going into year 6 of that, Shuck's good enough that he's elevating everybody else. And you don't need the $30 million receivers because you have a guy that's throwing people open, throwing with the anticipation, and all this stuff happens. And that's kind of how it goes. Like, Tom Brady never really had a lot of name brand receivers because he was elevating people. Patrick Mahomes had Kelsey and Cheetah and all these people around him. And then you got to pay Patrick Mahomes, and now it's him and nobody else. And yeah, they missed the playoffs, but you got to hope that your guys are elevating them. Josh Allen, like, you can't feel bad for Josh Allen that, they didn't build a team around him. Well, Josh Allen's getting all the money. Like, it's his job now to elevate everybody else to that Super Bowl level. So that's just kind of how it goes. You got that window. You pay guys. You try to take advantage of it. And you want to set up your cap so that a lot of that stuff's expiring, so then you're paying your quarterback and you have room to build a little bit around him with some other guys. But, that's kind of where they're at right now with that. And I think they're actually in an advantageous situation, and really they shouldn't have anything that's limiting. I think they need to be smart, obviously, with what they do. I don't want them to go out and sign top of the market guys at all kinds of positions or anything, but they can be smartly aggressive here. And they have a real nice window where, I think they need to build it out.
Nick, good stuff, man. This is great. NewOrleans.football. Go check out the new app. It'll help you with the salary cap. It's really easy to use and navigate. Great stuff, man. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Keep doing your thing.
All right, bud. Be well. NewOrleans.football. NewOrleans.football. Go check it out. It's kind of going bonkers on Twitter, and it's really, really cool. I'm gonna sign Breece Hall in the break and see what that does to the cap. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, 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 ARCCO, Arco.com. Industrial Generac Generator Power. That's Arco Power Systems, Arco.com. It doesn't matter if it's a school, government, municipality, grocery stores, convenience stores, if it's your gas station, industrial power plants, facilities, anything that is a commercial industrial facility, when the power goes out, what do? Arco. Everything's turnkey. Sell, service, install, Generac industrial generator power from Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, Arco.com. Just confirmed Jay Johnson will join us in 1 hour from right now from Jacksonville. Tigers went to Jacksonville, practiced this morning there in Jacksonville. And so Jay will be with us in 1 hour from right now. We'll preview the weekend with Jay coming up in 1 hour from right now. Quick break. Kendall Rogers is next. AFR.
After Further Review.
Let's Rev, y'all. REV. Let's Rev.com. Let's Rev.com. Let's Rev.com. So they laid the fiber in my neighborhood. Been telling you about that. And we have our install tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. A Rev technician will be at our house to do our install. Yes, we still have a landline. Rev can take care of that. Yeah, that's Erica, by the way. Erica's the one who wants the landline. Yes, we still have cable. It's Erica. She wants cable. So we have cable. Rev will be our cable provider as well. And yes, we have internet because everybody's got to have internet. Well, if you want high-speed internet, lightning fast speeds up to 5 gigs, all fiber network, which is the big, for me, look, Rev, they're local. I love that selling point, that component of it, the fact that they are a local company, 90 years of being local in the community, local call center. I love that part of it. The price is the price. They're not going to get you on a trial period, then jack the price. The price is the price. Yo, the all-fiber network is just a game changer. They just laid fiber in our neighborhood, REV. Let's rev.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
All right, Russo, we good to go? Good.
We're good to go.
Great. Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball, good enough to hang out with us here like he does on Thursdays. How are you, dude?
I'm doing well. Me and Miss might have talked off air just about my slip. I know we all thought it was funny, but
It was really
I have
funny.
a high level of respect for somebody who respects Todd Peterson the way he does.
Todd Peterson.
Oh, there we go. Attaboy.
Hey,
Attaboy.
nationally, who is your biggest surprise opening weekend in college baseball?
I think how good Oklahoma was.
Yup.
Oklahoma looked like the 1917 Yankees over the weekend at Globe Life. It was balanced offense. It was powerful offense. Their catcher had 3 straight steals. He wasn't quite as fast as Zach York, but it was 3 straight steals, and their pitching was awesome. Their pitching, I told somebody this earlier, but like LJ McCurry is their Saturday starter. I think he went 5 or 6 innings, 1 run, up to 98, and every single pitch he threw his fastball, slider, changeup had a whiff rate over 60% for his outing. So he looked terrific. And by the way, I mentioned it last week, Arkansas just looked okay to me. Dave Van Horn already called out his offense. 2 games in the season, he's calling his offense out. So it kind of gives you an idea of where the Hogs are as they go into week 2.
Not sure how much you got to see LSU against a really overmatched opponent,
A little
but
bit.
yeah, I would like, and I know you're gonna be there in Jacksonville this weekend, but an overarching takeaway from the Tigers opening weekend or the 5 games in 6 days?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just the pitching depth. I think we all thought that would be a strength of this team, but I love seeing a guy like a Gavin Guidry go out there and get off to the start that he has on the mound with 10 strikeouts and 4 1/3. Number one, I'm just rooting for the guy in general because I think he's a fun player and he's finally healthy. I think offensively, anytime you have a guy go from the WAC to the SEC, and again, I know he's going against Milwaukee, but just to see Zach York get off to a really good start, he was just kind of the same hitter that we saw at TCU. Seth Dardar, again, big-time power. I like the fact that, he had 7 walks already with no strikeouts. You typically don't think about kind of a big bopper, left-handed hitter type like that who, has such a great eye at the plate. He has been that so far. And, of course, Jake Brown. I would like to say I'm surprised that he has looked as good as he's looked, but I'm not really surprised. I just think he's elite. And he has the elite home run celebrations, too.
Kendall has dropped into Todd Peterson.
Todd Peterson.
A Zach York steal and a Jake Brown home run celebration. I'm just saying, kind of feels like you're in midseason form already. This isn't
I'm in midseason form. Hey, I did see somebody refer to Zach York as the Boudin Bambino, and by the way, that is phenomenal.
Okay.
I thought that was awesome.
We're trying to figure out. So he says he likes Big Papa. I've seen Creole Bambino, right? Creole Bambino, Boudin. What did you say? Boudin Bambino?
I saw somebody refer to him as the Boudin Bambino. I kind of like it.
Don't hate it. I'm down for whatever direction they go. But he says he likes Big Papa, so that's probably what's going to stick. But we'll see. Hey, this weekend when LSU goes down to Jacksonville, I know you all are putting on the event there. Maybe a thought. Let's talk about the teams LSU is going to play, in particular Indiana, who LSU will take on Friday. What do we need to know about the Hoosiers?
Yeah, what's interesting about IU is over the weekend against North Carolina, who, by the way, I think is a really good team. I think they're a national championship contender if they're going to hit the way they hit in the later innings in that weekend. I think the Indiana scores are a little deceiving. So if you go back and look at the UNC series, I mean, there were a couple of games there where, I mean, it was, 1-1 or 2-1 there in the middle to, 6th, 7th inning, and things just kind of fell apart. So it does seem like the bullpen is a little bit of an issue. It does seem like their starting pitching has some potential. But I do think this is a weekend for LSU that's kind of neat in the sense that I think as long as they play pretty decent baseball, they're going to go 3-0. But I think these teams are good enough to challenge them a little bit. Indiana's got talent. If you look at Notre Dame, there's a club that last year was right on the cusp of the NCAA tournament. Sean Stlitzler, their coach, thinks they're going to be better this year. So quality club at the UCF. I mean, we know UCF's going to have talent. They've got Roman Kimball, the South Carolina kickback, Zach Skinner, a really talented transfer from Lamar. So, I mean, they've got talent. So I think Jay's going to find out a little bit in the sense that they're going to go against good but not great teams.
Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball. I don't want to overreact after one weekend, but was there on the opposite end of that spectrum, if Oklahoma is the one that was maybe a pleasant surprise, anybody that maybe was underwhelming opening weekend?
Yeah, I would say, if you look at the top 10, Louisville, I mean, losing the first two games to Michigan State was a little surprising to me. Arizona, who I kind of thought they would struggle a little bit just because they lost All-American Tony Pluta at the back end of the week of rotation for the year because of an injury. But, Arizona was 0-4. Arizona and UConn actually played this weekend in the three-game series, and both of those teams are 0-4. Both of those teams were projected NCAA tournament teams coming into the season. And I know it's kind of crazy to say, but for a team like UConn, where you're in the Big East, you don't have a lot of RP opportunities in season, in conference, I mean, this is kind of a put-up or shut-up weekend. If you lose, let's say, 5 of your 6 non-conference games or your non-conference games of the weekend to start the year, man, you're already so far behind the 8 ball. So this is a big weekend for Connecticut.
D1baseball.com. It's a great opportunity if you're following along with the Tigers all season long. D1 Baseball. Make sure you get over there, get subscribed. Of course, D1 Baseball up and put on the series this weekend. The Tigers will be playing in D1baseball.com. One other thing outside of the weekend, obviously in Jacksonville, Kendall, give us something else to watch, SEC or nationally, another weekend series that we should be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, how about TCU at UCLA? Unfortunately, Friday starter for TCU, Tommy Laporte, is out this weekend. But I saw the Frogs over the weekend, and I really like what they have offensively. Started Stroh-Snyder, Lucas Franco, one of the best, middle infielders in the country. As a freshman, he's a treat to watch. And of course, Rock Chalowski on Tuesday night for UCLA had 2 home runs in that game. So Rock Chalowski in midseason form. So that's kind of the big one for me. And then, hey, I just mentioned Michigan State knocking off Louisville. They actually go to Austin this weekend to take on the Longhorns. So just keep an eye on that one. I mean, I think Texas will handle them, but you never know.
Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball. Get him at Kendall Rogers, D1baseball.com, D1baseball.com. Good stuff as always, man. Enjoy the weekend there in Jacksonville. We'll talk soon.
You got it, buddy. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate it. That is Kendall Rogers. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by our friends at Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics, OLOLRMC.com/LSU, OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Of course, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, championship health partners, synonymous with one another. We always encourage you that whenever you're in need of health care, be it for your day-to-day care. I told you my general practitioner is Dr. Kurt Chastain with Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. If it's pediatrics, Drew C's specialist at Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital, a gorgeous, state-of-the-art, standalone children's hospital in Baton Rouge, really a beacon light for our entire region. If it's cancer or heart or stroke or whatever specialty it may be, if it's the lake after hours or the lake urgent care, Our Lady of the Lake is there to care for you every day here in our community. Of course, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Rolling along here on a Monday edition of AFR presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Chris Hummer will talk some transfer portal with us in 15 minutes. Jay Johnson in 45 minutes will join us from Jacksonville. And then Ryan Clark will be here in hour 3. Been a minute since we've caught up with RC, but RC is one of the panelists and contributors for the Rain Will Bring Flowers event next week at the PMAC, totally free event, discussing mental health. And very excited to talk about that with RC. We'll knock around some Lane Kiffin, some other football stuff as well. So we'll have RC in hour number 3. All right, it's After Further Review. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll wrap up hour number 1 with Around the SEC next.
After Further Review.
If you're thinking about selling your home, you know what to do. Call Darren James. Get your home sold. 335-7666, 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com, agent225.com. You know, working with Darren obligates you to nothing. The number one complaint, did you know this? The number one complaint to the National Association of Realtors, the number one complaint is hired an agent, they listed my home, and I never heard from him or her again. With Darren James, you never have to worry about that. He's not just going to list your home on a website and slap a sign in your yard. He's going to actively work to sell your home every single day. And if you're not thrilled with the level of service Darren provides, you can fire him. He'll let you out of contract free and clear, no questions asked at any point. By the way, in Darren's entire career, no one has ever taken him up on that. That's the level of service Darren James provides. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
This is so exciting. Anthony Parker sent me a text on the show text line. He's done this twice now. He sent me a photo of a Waymo in New Orleans. I'm really excited about this.
You're obsessed with the Waymo.
I didn't get to ride a Waymo when I was there for Endymion this past weekend. We just didn't have need. We had a vehicle, and then we walked from our hotel. It's one of the great things about New Orleans is downtown is walkable. Mm-hmm. So we walked. We did take an Uber once. We did actually to breakfast on Saturday morning, but we didn't take a Waymo. I don't think Erica would ride a Waymo. I would. I would love it. Anyway, send me a photo. There's a Waymo somewhere. It looks like it's under the interstate somewhere. I don't know where this is, but expand your horizons. Ride a Waymo. How awkward is it when you have an Uber driver? Do you talk to the Uber driver? Do you talk to Uber driver?
Depends on if the Uber driver wants to talk to me. Quite honestly.
The Uber driver seldom ever starts the conversation. It's, are you going to start the convo with the Uber driver? They don't ever start it. It's usually, hey, how's your day going? And then you wait on their response. But are you going to start the how's your day going?
Yeah, I ask that sometimes I get an Uber. Hey, how's it going tonight? And then if they want to take it, they take it and we talk.
So we were in Vegas. We went a few weeks ago.
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
Did I tell the story on air?
I don't know.
All right, Erica had the most awkward Uber driver interaction ever.
I don't think you told this.
I'll do that in a moment. Right now, let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Take that, Greenberg. Arkansas hiring Ryan Silverfield's former Memphis assistant as quarterbacks coach. So Clint Trickett left for Maryland, and now Mitch Stewart is coming in to replace Trickett, who had been hired. Matt Zenitz was first to have the news. So Stewart was the head coach at Murray State prior, had stints at Georgia Southern, Samford, Middle Tennessee. Now he's going to be an assistant there at Arkansas.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Vandy has hired former Vols offensive lineman Jackson Lampley. He will be assistant offensive line coach there at Vandy. Played under Jeremy Pruitt and Josh Heupel during his time at Tennessee, but also was an offensive intern at LSU, incidentally, in last year in 2025. So Vanderbilt kicks off its 2026 season against Austin Peay, and Lampley will be an assistant.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Wide receiver Isaiah Hartrip will return to Ole Miss in 2026. He's a Missouri native. Got his 7th year of eligibility granted. Played 4 seasons at Southern Illinois. He's played in 37 career games with 27 starts. Last season, he played 15 games where Ole Miss had just 3 catches.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
2 more Georgia players arrested on reckless driving charges. Chris Cole and Darren Ikinenbon, 2 linebackers, arrested, booked at about 10 o'clock Eastern time with reckless driving, speeding, maximum limits. Both are misdemeanors. Are both arrested. Georgia, by now they just have to have the carbon copy statement that they just release every time something like this happens.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
And Tennessee's lefty Brandon Arvidsson will be available this weekend against Kent State. Didn't play in any of the first 4 games because of arm soreness. So Josh Elander, new head coach there, confirmed that Arvidsson would make his debut. He said sooner than later, and he'll pitch this weekend. Preseason first team, all SEC. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. We are brought to you by Parrish Construction and Roofing, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Parrish Construction and Roofing. By the way, it's me and Terrio and Tilly and our whole gang. We have a crew over at our house this week. We're painting the inside of our house. And our paint crew yesterday found a wet spot on the sheetrock in a hallway. And so they cut a hole and found there was a leak. So what did I do? I called our Parrish crew. And this morning, Zach was out at our house and found an active leak on our roof, and they're repairing it tomorrow morning. So even I am not exempt from roof leaks. So what you do if you have a roof leak or think you might, do business with someone you know. Parrish Construction and Roofing, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. And, of course, who else is giving you a chance to win $25,000 cash? Nobody except us. Go to parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Sign up for a free, no-obligation roofing inspection. You could win $25,000 cash. Parrishbuilt.com. Okay, I am going to tell you the most awkward Uber story ever. But we have Chris Hummer coming up after Sports Ed, but I promise I'm getting to it. It's AFR.
AFR.
Okay, y'all. Tomorrow is the first Friday in Lent. You know that. Fat Tuesday has passed. Wednesday was, of course, Ash Wednesday. So tomorrow is the first Friday in Lent, as you well know. So if you are a practicing Catholic, that means you are not going to be eating meat, very likely. You're going to be abstaining from meat. So you're going to be looking for seafood options. Well, I got great news. Go to Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. They got boiled crawfish. I get it. You may say it doesn't really feel like a sacrifice. Well, in South Louisiana, it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. But if you're going to abstain and you're hungry for seafood, my goodness, the spectacular hot bar menu is there. Fried and baked fish, frog legs, deviled crabs, shrimp, pasta, hush puppies, white beans, mac and cheese, cobbler, so much more. It's all there at Rouse's. Make Rouse's your Lenten headquarters. Rouse's. This feels like home.